824, welcome back to BT. Before we really get into the gaming preview, I want to give homage to Capcom Studio shutting its doors in Burnaby. That was announced this week. Victor Lucas, our gaming expert. Did you see this coming?
No, but this is a precarious industry. There's a lot of issues with budgets being covered, and it's all hit-driven now. So you have to have a huge success. That's kind of the only way that you can keep a big studio afloat now. And it's incredibly competitive, and there's lots of different ways that people can play. Like we were talking about Fortnite before, because everybody's talking about Fortnite.
Yeah.
And that just takes people's time if it doesn't take their money away, and then that leaves little time to play some other things. And they didn't do so well with Dead Rising 4, which was their last game. It didn't sell as well as was expected. And then the other factor, I think, is that Capcom had a huge hit with Monster Hunter World earlier this year. Mm-hmm. And anytime that any production company, any media entity has a massive hit, it makes them kind of rethink about how they're playing their other cards and what the rest of their business is like. And I'm sure that there was some assessment on the costs and what the return was going to be on whatever project Capcom Vancouver was working on. So they pulled the plug. And it sucks because Capcom Vancouver obviously did the Dead Rising franchise. They took it from the Osaka, Japan headquarters of Capcom, but they also, before that, were Blue Castle Games, and they worked on incredible titles like the Bigs.
Yeah, the Bigs. When did the Bigs come out? That was
like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
it was a long time ago, but it was an amazing game. It still stands as one of the most enjoyable baseball experiences out there. And there's just so much talent and versatility across that team. There are a lot of changes, obviously, but a tremendous amount of talent. I think a lot of them are going to end up just fine with other good jobs.
Well, there are still some new releases we have yet to talk about.
Yes, actually, I have a new release for you, my friend.
What do you got?
I brought you a little EPN T-shirt.
Oh.
We make T-shirts now.
Look at this.
Look, it says "Play Forever." That's our motto. That's for you.
The vintage controller here, if we're going to point
and that
out,
is also a big thank you for your TEDx Vancouver talk and your shout out to me, and the unexpected, and it was amazing. Thank you
very much.
Thor, I brought you one too, buddy.
Woo! You get a T-shirt. You get a
T-shirt. That's it. That's all I brought. So just two. Sorry, everybody.
We'll share it around here. Let's talk SpiderMan and how this game and franchise has evolved.
Yeah, it's an amazing game. Insomniac Games, who brought us Ratchet and Clank and Spyro the Dragon back in the day, and Resistance Fall of Man. They just killed it with this game. Marvel Games looked at what Batman Arkham Asylum and the Arkham games were like, and they said, well, we want some of that too. And so they worked with Insomniac, one of the most incredible independent studios in the world. They're totally not owned by anybody, but they did this exclusively for Sony. Sony has the Spider-Man rights in the movies, and they said, well, we need a Spider-Man game that lives up to the best Spider-Man movies that are out there, and that's exactly what they built. It's a great story, incredible fidelity, like you just saw. It's gorgeous visuals, but also the mechanics and combat systems, so much fun.
What's up with Nintendo Switch? How has this evolved from classic multiplayer games? What are people
well, they just launched the Switch Online service just the other day, and what they've done is they've given people that bought the Switch last year free internet play for the last year to kind of test their servers and all that stuff, but now they want to charge, like PlayStation and Xbox, they all charge for multiplayer connectivity and sort of server-side management and stuff like that. Nintendo's pricing is pretty good. It's like $25 for a year, which is pretty sweet, but they sweeten the deal by giving you classic NES games for free that you can play. Well, they're not for free because you got to be an online subscriber. And this is them getting into the subscription model, which can bring them a ton of money. But there's 20 games from the NES era that you can play on your Nintendo Switch, and they've added online multiplayer as part of the deal for the first time ever. So you can play classic games like, Super Mario Brothers 3, or there's an old NES hockey game on there. There's Ghouls and Ghosts and Gradius 5, like lots of classics.
A lot of good ones. Okay, listen, EPN.TV, that's where you follow along for all things gaming. Victor, thanks so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, more of your top news stories right after the break.